Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Enlighten Up podcast. I hope you're all ready for a mind-bending show today. We are going to talk about a very mind-warping topic tonight that has already got me completely twisted in so many different ways trying to understand this topic. And I am so happy to have Aeon back to the show. You may have remembered her from previous episodes as Amelia Aeon Karris, and she is here to discuss the Metaverse, which I've just realized is becoming the new Matrix. Aeon, how are you doing? Welcome back to the show.
Oh, so good to be here with you, Nicole. Yeah, I'm good. And this is, mind-bending and crazy.
It is. It really is. And so, I think so everyone can know, I went down to Mexico in December, and we met up for an afternoon, and we got to hang out, and we actually talked about this on the beach, where the turtles were and all that. And I was shocked that this even exists. I had no idea, which I'm sure most people don't even know that this exists. And there's just so much we have to get into here, because we've got to take the audience through what we're talking about and why people would want to know about this. And of course, we'll also get into some of the spiritual implications down the road of what we're talking about. So first of all, you and I were sitting on the beach. We're having a cocktail. We're sitting in the sunshine, and we're doing our spiritual talk, talking about all things 5D. And then you begin telling me about how you're very disturbed because of this idea of the Metaverse. Can you explain to the audience what this is?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are hearing about the Metaverse for the first time, and it used to just be called VR or virtual reality. And the very beginning inception of it was based on the language of VRML, which is the virtual reality markup language. And it was birthed just after HTML was birthed, which we know is the internet as we know it, the World Wide Web, right? The pages that we view are all coded in HTML. But at the same time, or right within the year or two after HTML was birthed and brought to the world, also, which was birthed, was VRML. And I was one of the first designers, our team, to design projects based on VRML. We were working alongside of the inventors of it, beta developers for Microsoft and Sega and other large corporations who were exploring this space. And we all thought that the future was VR, virtual reality, full immersive environments. And around 1998, 99, the whole thing, all our projects got taken away. And mind you, our projects were top secret. We signed NDAs. We weren't allowed to speak about them. We were developing like Hotmail in 3D and many other incredible projects. Actually, I was really excited about it because when you look at the screen, everything was moving in 3D. It wasn't this static, 2D pages that we view now as the website. So to me, web design these days is totally boring. But anyway, when it went underground, it just became like more just for gamers. And so there's a lot of people have heard of Second Life. A lot of the VR went into what is called Second Life, and you create an avatar and you interact with people. You can meet people in Second Life, and it's called Second Life because you kind of have another life, right? An online life. And so the idea was always from the inception stages is like, oh, well, we can like upload our consciousness through these avatars who we can change what we look like, our gender, who we are. We can wrap ourselves however we want as an avatar and interact in these spaces. Now, 20 years moving forward, right? Now we all are very used to the web. We interact with it all the time. But why, what disturbs me is how come during COVID, during the lockdown, during all of these, thousands of satellites being shot up into the sky, why suddenly is Facebook deciding that they're changing their name to Meta? And then the whole conversation of the metaverse suddenly reaches, newsstands everywhere. And why is it happening right when Facebook is being charged in Supreme Court for like violating our privacy and stealing our data and eschewing politics and censoring people and all of that, right? So to me, it was like alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells. And then when I started getting pitched or invited by a very underground network of like crypto people who, cryptocurrency was all, the first adapters of cryptocurrency were like what I would say either hackers or drug dealers that I knew of telling me about crypto. And so it was like this radical, blockchain technology where, they can't touch our money. And it was, against the government and all of these things. Sorry for the background noise, but so those same people that are, kind of like the rebels, the anti establishment type people, the people who live on the fringes of society, they're now talking about the metaverse and like bringing like cryptocurrency into the metaverse, just at the same time that Facebook is changing their name. So this is when you came to Mexico and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Like these worlds are colliding. I'm getting all this spiritual information that is very difficult to sit with, because it's a change in consciousness. When we shifted from, just regular people using telephone and voicemail and actual letters to email and text messaging and internet, we had a shift in consciousness, right? Like it changed us as humans. And this is one of those changes. This is one of those like, okay, we jumped into the digital age. This is next level. It's next level.
Okay, yeah. And I would assume, just like with anything, there are pros and cons, and depending on the intention behind anything, it can skew it one way that might be favorable or another way that might be favorable for, let's just say, not so great reasons, more nefarious reasons. Okay, before we go any further, let's kind of break this down even further so people really understand what we're talking about. So this idea of the metaverse, you are noticing that people are, so to speak, fleeing to the metaverse. What do you mean by that? Like, how can people conceptualize, like, it just sounds like you're talking about a virtual reality that you can tune into, like, but the way you described it to me is like, no, this is where people want to live their lives. Like they don't want to live in this reality anymore. It's almost like they want to live full time in the metaverse.
Well, Not really like that. And so what's happening, I don't mean they're like fleeing one life for the other, but what's happening is like, this is the future of technology. So just like, if you were a photographer back in the 90s, you knew the future was digital. Even if you hated it and you didn't want to do it, you knew eventually, like by the time 2010 came around, all photographers were moving digital. Like there are some that still use film, right, and the chemical process, but we know it's gone digital. And it's similar. We're in one of those moments where, because large corporations, and I believe government corporations are behind this now, because in the 90s they weren't. When we developed VR and VR worlds, and when we were designing them, there was no commercial aspect, and the internet was not fast enough to handle the bandwidth issues, and the computers weren't fast enough. We had to have state-of-the-art computers and really fast T1 lines to run virtual worlds. So it took a lot of computing power. Well, now the computing power is there. Now there are business models that can monetize, but beyond that, there are policing models that can really benefit from us being in VR. So yeah, this is where it gets a little bit weird. So I wouldn't say people are fleeing, but they're more like rushing, like a gold rush towards the metaverse. So people are opening their shops in the metaverse, just like the first people who had the website and e-commerce.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. This is so mind blowing to me. Like it's,
I know it is.
it's,
It's a shift. It's a big shift.
yeah, because when you first, like, the first time I heard about with you, obviously like alarm bells went off for me too. But then like just even listening to you describe this further before we started to record, it's like, hold on a second. Like there's just so much to grasp here, like to really understand what the implications are here. So, okay, so people are kind of gravitating towards the metaverse. They want to be there. They want to be first. They want to, okay, what are all the pulls right now that are drawing people there?
So all of this time, so since the 90s, when VR was created until now, the only people that really stayed using VR were gamers. So kids, young people, and hackers, and geeks, basically people who love technology, who can understand it, or early adapters that are just having a better gaming experience, a full immersive gaming experience. And I should also tell you that the sex industry has fully embraced it as well. So those are the first adapters. And now it's reaching the general public. It's reaching general business. So now what Mark Zuckerberg and everyone is pushing you to do is to create your university there, to create your business meetings there, to create your actual brick and mortar store in the metaverse, so that people can browse and purchase. Like, they don't need to come to your store anymore. They're going to go to your virtual store. It's going to look like your store. They're going to be able to turn products around. It's all 3D, but you're living in a 3D world. You can do everything you need to do. You don't have to leave your home. You can walk down the street in the metaverse and run into holographic versions of your friends and wave and interact. And you can have a full-on germ-free life inside the metaverse.
This is crazy. So basically, it is taking the original concept of creation and consciousness in this universe and recreating it to remove you from the original blueprint and put you in their blueprint.
It's basically removing you from your biological suit and giving you a digital one. Yeah. So removing you from the earthly atmosphere and putting you in the ethers to exist and interact.
And do they, okay, so what are the expectations and possibly even like what they're pushing for goals? Do they want people to like eat, live, breathe, sleep, everything here?
Well, here's where my mind gets very disturbed. So as an early adapter and developer of VR, I only lasted a couple years in the industry because I got extremely sick, like autoimmune issues, as did every other developer I know. I found it a very toxic environment to our physiology. So toxic being like, and I've spoken to people recently because I'm like, look, have the headsets changed? Because you could have headsets, you can have, also fitness is a big industry right now using VR. So I know they've come a long ways in the last, 20, 30 years in developing the ways you interact with VR. And now augmented reality is really the middle ground, which they're pushing you towards full immersive. So augmented reality, for those of you who don't know, is when you would, wear glasses or use your phone and look through the lens. And like, if you had special augmented glasses on, it's like having matrix screens and you could look at something and, if it's a store, you could see the price if they had augmented reality on it, or you could read QR codes with your glasses and you would see holographic things in front of you as if they're real. So if you look through your camera lens, like with Snapchat filters, you know how people are recording their faces with all the filters and their animal ears pop out. It's the same thing, but now you can get the glasses, you can look through another lens. With augmented reality, you don't really know what's real and what's, like, we'll call it CG or something, what's augmented. And then VR or the metaverse is full immersion. So when you're in full immersion, you have a neuro, I don't know how to describe this. For me, it just feels like vertigo. It feels like I'm going to get nauseous. It feels like I'm seasick. I can only last a few moments. With the 3D screens, like the IMAX theaters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's weird. I don't like it.
Okay, so then you will hate VR because it's full immersion and you take it off and you're really disoriented. So when you come out of VR, it's so disorienting. And like I'm telling you, every developer I knew, which were the world's best engineers in the field, were very ill. Like all of us were ill. When I went to
what kind of illnesses?
Mostly like serious autoimmune conditions, very serious. And when I left VR, I was having severe tendonitis. I was having weird sort of blood sugar issues, like just shaking. I don't know how to describe it, vertigo. I went to shaman after shaman, and this one woman, she worked with me for 5 years, every single week, every Friday night, I had to go to her just to be able to go to work on Monday. Like if I missed my Friday night healing session, I couldn't work the next week, but she would do deep tissue massage and shamanic extraction on me. And she said, you're like a cyborg. Everything I see is circuitry in your body. She said, never seen anything like it. And when I finally left the industry, it was 2003, I moved deep, deep, deep into nature and I became a farmer, and that's how I healed myself. It was a big process for me. And so for me, I feel like the canary in the coal mine here, like, hey, you guys, this is really dangerous technology. Like, yeah, it's cool. I thought it was cool. I thought this was the future. I love tech. Like, I'm not anti-tech. I'm one of the first designers of tech. I grew up in Silicon Valley. It's a part of my life, but it made me very, very sick. And so I'm seeing young kids that are just totally addicted to the VR gaming. Nothing in real world is nice after you have a full immersive environment, because everything's so beautiful and shiny and clean and pristine. And then real world, we have wrinkles, we have health issues, we have a body that we have to take care of. And the more you're in VR, the sicker your body becomes.
Yeah, it's like they want you to become so used to that reality that you automatically start rejecting your original reality, your biological reality.
unfortunately, I feel that that plays a role in it. And so, I have to say, because I've met some beautiful, really beautiful people that are designing the new metaverse, as we speak. So the new designers, they're the generation beneath me. They're very conscious. They're very aware people. They have very good intentions. And I'm really happy I met them, because if I hadn't met them, I would be saying only bad things about it. Like, stay away, warning, warning, warning. So I'm in discussion with them on a weekly basis, really listening to what they're developing and wanting to not be afraid of it. Because honestly, the second I saw this video, which I would love to show you, about Mark Zuckerberg's
Yeah,
metaverse,
yeah, we'll definitely get into that shortly.
I have to show you that because you're gonna freak out. But once I saw that and like started hearing, the gaming industry, the crypto industry, all like who is the early adapters of the metaverse and what they're really planning and rolling out, I got frankly really nervous. And that's when I saw you in Mexico. I was kind of in a freak out moment. Like, is this really happening? I was having a bit cognitive dissonance around it. Like, wow, they suppressed it for all these years. And of course, now the timing of the release during COVID, when everybody's on lockdown, when everybody's just really needing to connect, they're giving you like, and they want to travel, right? So they've taken our travel away. And now they're saying, build your own universe, build whatever world, travel to the distant galaxies through the metaverse, because you can travel to all these VR worlds that are extraordinary, but they're in VR. And so it's like, why should you ever leave your home?
Okay, I just got a crazy download while you were saying that. And I just want to bounce it off you because I have no idea how to really interpret this. I just got a download that one of the reasons behind, your ability to create your own universe, okay, is I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons here, and I think some of them are probably really good, but one of them is to tap into the elevated consciousness of those who can create things that they've already seen well beyond. And it's a great way of understanding what you're seeing, what you could create with your own mind, what you're tapping into well beyond this dimension and this particular planet.
Yeah. So I had that similar thought, that it gives us a way to express what we already know. So for yogis and mystics and spiritual cosmonauts, we know these worlds exist. And so the part that upsets me is that giving them a fake version of it, it's like making them believe that they actually know when they don't know, like it's a false reality.
Yeah, but there's even just to go, and then this is a little nefarious, and this could be like totally conspiracy theory, but I'm just throwing it out there because, it literally just dropped into my mind.
Well, I hope so. I mean, that would be a beautiful thing, right? Like, and I think that's part of the beauty, like artists, people who've seen things and they want to express it can finally have a medium.
Sure. No, yeah, I agree. And I think that those are like some of the positive aspects. But when we talk about how, depending on your intentions and how you're going to use something, there's always a way around it, right? And what I saw, this would be a much more nefarious intention behind it, is that like when we talk about, that there are children who've been used for programs, that are underground and also off planet. Okay. And they've been used for their skills. This would be a way to not only discover those who you may not know about, but also to utilize them in ways or tap into information very covertly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the government's been, well, I know that the government has been using VR simulations for many different reasons for a very long time, long before the public had access to it. and they continue to do a lot of, VR immersion. I mean, we know about our soldiers who practice in VR before they go into the battlefield, and it desensitizes them, right, to real human suffering. If everything looks like a video game and you're used to seeing, blood and gore and blowing shit up, it's just, you desensitize to the human condition. And that's, I can come up with a very long list of all the nefarious and scary reasons why I'm sort of like, don't log in, like it's like warning, don't log in, don't get the headset, don't use augmented reality. But at the other hand, I can see also, hey, it's super fun. Maybe it saves, CO2 emissions, and like it maybe, it does allow us to like travel amongst the stars and visit far off galaxies within our, home headset, and have these extraordinary experiences to meet people in other places, other entities, beings that are inhabiting the metaverse. So we have to weigh those pros and cons for ourselves and really make very intentional decisions.
Yeah. And I totally get it. And, and I understand you don't want to be scared of anything, because as soon as you do, you're giving your power away. And in order to fully understand something, you have to be willing to go deep into whatever it is with a very neutral mindset, which can be really difficult when you're coming up against something of this magnitude. It's quite jarring, like I think the average person, maybe someone who's, well, I mean, you were in this whole reality, a couple decades ago. This was your whole jam, and even you are a little bit disturbed by it. But just take the average person like me, who's never done VR before, or like to the extent that this is coming out, and it starts to like send off a lot of different alarm bells. When you were talking about the headset and how like it was making everyone sick, and there was a lot of autoimmune issues and vertigo and things like that. Instantly, I felt there's got to be something happening with the pineal gland, to cause all of that, because the pineal gland is responsible for a lot of the hormonal releases, which is directly linked to a lot of autoimmune diseases. On top of like we also know how important the pineal gland is, just even in your own connection to God, source, the universe, so dulling that out and disturbing it so that you maybe don't even feel as connected as you once did. And you want that connection. Where do you find it? You find it in the metaverse.
Yeah. And I think one beauty, like a positive tip, would be that people realize that they can create, that we are all creators, that we can create universe.
I love that aspect of it. I think that's a beautiful aspect of it, because basically there's no limitations. It sounds like you can do
whatever
anything.
you dream, whatever you imagine, you can create.
Yeah.
So what a beautiful message. To me, I would like to see that message taken into the physical realm, not the astral. I think the astral realm, which is where the metaverse and the, hyperspace, the internet, the Wi-Fi is all in astral plane. It's in fourth dimensional reality. And to me, that fourth dimensional reality is already hijacked. So when we talk about like nefarious forces and a war for our psyche, I mean, we are in a war, an intergalactic war, and different levels of our consciousness are kind of going through its own sort of rectification or something. So for me, it's important that everyone knows, one, how to stay sovereign when they're traveling interdimensionally, because we all can travel interdimensionally. And so I always loved that about VR from day one, was like, wow, this is a device. This is a feedback tool for showing what, yogis and mystics have always known, which is that we are interdimensional beings living one existence in 3D, but we have other levels of dimension that we exist in. So we automatically, our consciousness knows that when we're on the internet, and our websites are maybe like selling things when we're not there, like while we're sleeping, right? Or we can communicate with people all over the world and they exist in our, in Facebook or in Instagram or wherever they are, YouTube. The metaverse is like the next level of that. It's like, oh, I went to your house. Like it's almost awakening the dream state. So to me, as someone who practices mystic arts and teaches them, I think, wow, what a beautiful way for people to actually experience that they are alive in other dimensions. But the difficulty for me is that, again, as I teach in the astral realms are highly manipulated. And so how do you know how to protect yourself there? Do you know how to stay sovereign when you're interacting in the astral? Do you know how to navigate the astral realm in a healthy way? Or are you leaving yourself open to be, hijacked and attacked? And I don't want to scare people, but like, it's just, it's like putting a young, naive girl out, to fend for herself, in a third world, kind of like in India or Thailand, and just think like, oh, you'll be fine. You kind of want to protect her, right? You want to tell them things, like you want to protect the innocence. And I think that's why I want to share this with you on this call right now, is like, I want to protect the innocence of people who don't know what it is, that this isn't, that there are hazards to be aware of. Let's just put it that way. There are hazards to be aware of. We need to choose for ourselves. I'm not saying it's like horrible and awful, because there can be beauty. It can, people who maybe can't travel or are stuck at home, or, someone who is very ill and can't leave their bed could, travel the universe or go visit their friends holographically.
See, okay, there you just brought in what I think is a real big positive for something like that. So if, say, listen, what if you're someone who has lost your legs and you can't walk anymore on your own? And you want to just tap into that feeling and know what it's like to walk down your own street and see your friends, or play a soccer game, or whatever it might be,
Fly, jump.
Yeah.
You can do anything. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So like if there's anyone who's like, or like you said, someone who's quite ill and just can't get out of bed, and they're bedridden, but they want to, their mind's still working very strongly, want to maybe engage in something. I can absolutely see the benefit of that. And like we were talking about, there's got to be light and dark in everything. It's just understanding what you're interacting with and what your intentions are, and knowing where, there are pitfalls and danger zones.
Yeah. And one of the things that I don't like is when, it's funny you use like someone who doesn't have legs or is ill, and is so sick that they can't move. And unfortunately, that is the exact example that Elon Musk uses, that Bill Gates use, and Zuckerberg have all used that same analogy for talking about next level tech. And so all of us
So it's like, yeah.
say like, of course we want that because we're humanitarian.
And at the same time, as I was saying it out loud, right, I could also see, but okay, there were lessons that we signed up for in this lifetime to learn through such incidents, but also it would again cause you to want to divorce your biological reality and completely check out, especially if your altered reality in the metaverse is like 1,000 times more interactive than what you're able to do in the biological world, which there are so many spiritual reasons why you would want to stay there. Why don't we talk about some of these spiritual implications then? Because it's true. It's like when they say, well, don't you want everyone to be safe? You need to wear a mask, or you need to get the vaccine. It's kind of the same thing, like, yeah, I get it.
Level. It's a transhumanism. And it's also like, for me, the authoritarianism and what we're handing over for that nice little thrill to travel the universe or to see someone in holographic form. Okay, that's cool. But like, okay, now you have access to my neocortex. You have access to my biology. You have access to my biodata. You can push buttons that will affect my health and give you access to my entire physicality, which used to be my there used to be like
Privacy.
acts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
About things like this,
Mhm.
where now we're going to, like, the implications are so huge, and it's like they starved us of travel, they starved us of connection, and then suddenly they're launching this great alternative to connect and travel without leaving your home. You're afraid of touching someone. We actually have sex in Meta. Like, we can have safe sex, cyber sex, Barbarella sex. Like, you don't need to go anywhere. You can get fat, lazy, sick, sit on your bed, be so depressed, put on an avatar suit, and go out and explore the world as if the actual destruction of the world and our actual human connection, like as if our actual human biology doesn't matter. And that's where I get like so upset and so
I
disturbed.
agree with you. It's very scary. It's disturbing. Like you said, it's very disturbing. And I remember you saying, I'm just so disturbed, Nicole. I'm so disturbed. Like what I learned this week, because you literally had just learned it, I think, that week that I was down there, or like the week before. And so, okay, why don't, yeah, but yeah, I was just going to say, let's do the video. So why don't you share the screen, and, I'll go into here. So, all right. Cue up the video for everyone so they know why you're showing this.
Yeah, this is Mark Zuckerberg talking about the shift to Meta, like why they changed the name from Facebook to Meta. And he's giving you a little tour of the metaverse so you can understand what his vision for Meta is. So,
okay, and so just to clarify, because this was not known to me, he did not create Metaverse. He's not part of it, but he's wanting to, I guess you say, kind of co-opt it.
Yeah, like he's basically changed his name from Facebook to Meta just before the public even realizes that there is a metaverse that's already been there. And he sees the gold rush of everybody moving, like businesses wanting to move, and there's an opportunity in it. And to me, this opportunity coming in the face of his lawsuits around privacy, to me, is very suspicious. And I think it's a PR plot to kind of shift your attention. And I think we should be very, very, very aware and wary of where this is taking us, because companies that large don't just suddenly change their name. So they're making you think, and most Americans think, that the metaverse is Facebook. It is not. But he wants you to think that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when you were telling me, because I just
Absolutely
instantly,
not.
yeah. So that's why I wanted to make sure we clarified that for everyone.
But he wants you to think that, and just check him out. He looks like Data from Star Trek. He's full android. Check this out.
Let's start by exploring what different kinds of metaverse experiences could feel like, starting with the most important experience of all.
Okay, first of all, who has a haircut like that? Is it real?
Well, okay, so this is what, when you were showing me this, I was like, but wait, no, this has got to be CGI. Like, this has got to be CGI.
It's filtered because he's in a VR space, but this is basically, he's showing you, he's standing in a metaverse space.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
But he's not CGI'd. It's kind of a filter, but this is actually him.
Okay, so that's him, but everything around him is obviously the filter.
Yeah, it's VR.
Oh God, he looks.
Let's call it VR.
Yeah, you're right. He does look. Okay, for everyone who's listening on the podcast, I'm sorry. This is gonna be one of those episodes you're probably gonna want to tune into the video at some point. Just check the timestamp so you know exactly where to go. Okay, go ahead.
Photo of Mark Zuckerberg in the metaverse, and you'll see what we're talking about. But yeah, check out the haircut. Okay.
Connecting with people.
So this is what you'll feel as an avatar in the metaverse. You'll see the wireframe.
Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. It has parts of your physical home recreated virtually. It has things that are only possible virtually. And it has an incredibly inspiring view of whatever you find most beautiful.
Okay, pause there. Okay, so basically that is, can you just rewind it just a little bit so you get back to that, like just the view? Like, is that like a lake? And okay. So this is
full VR world.
Okay, so this is what you could be in your own avatar of whatever you decide to create.
So yeah, so the metaverse can be a holographic projection of you, which they're working on. I haven't seen it. I won't even put a headset on at this point because I got so sick back in the day. But it can be holographic, or it can be fully 3D CGI looking. So in this case, it's a video of him probably on a green screen, just like you could do in Zoom, right? I can put a virtual background behind me. So he's in a virtual background of a metaverse, and it can be interactive. So like if I was there with him, I could stand in the room. Yeah.
Could you knock him out too?
He's not real. I would just unplug him.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay.
Here, look, somebody's coming in the room.
Oh, okay.
Are you coming?
Yeah, just got to find something to wear.
Oh, no, this is, so right, what they're showing now, he's on his watch that pulls up a holographic screen. So these are all, this is where Facebook's new gadget and like next level is going. So they're going to bring you all this technology very soon.
Gotcha.
The glasses you can buy, the watch, right? So holographic screens, by the way, have been around since the 90s. My friend developed them. Yeah. For some reason, they've never been in the public hands, but soon they will be. And they're getting you ready for it inside the metaverse by showing you holograms. That's the actual avatar, what he's showing there. See, it's like cartoon version of him.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so awkward looking.
I know, but VR is clunky. Like you can't make it really. I mean, the VR world that he's sitting in is really high-end CG. I was about to say that VR doesn't look that good. So anyway, let's watch. He's changing the suits of the avatar.
Perfect.
To make it look just like him, his uniform, like Data.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly how he dresses every day.
Wow.
The haircut.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what?
Okay, here we go. Very holodeck, Star Trek Council.
Yes.
People with avatars from different worlds. So I do think that they're getting us ready for full disclosure and making it more confusing for anyone to ever believe that there actually are real ETs among us by showing us cartoon versions. Anyway, that's another story for another podcast.
Yeah, it's just, well, we could go down a lot of rabbit holes here.
Okay, we're almost done. I'll just
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hi. What's up, Ma?
Whoa, we're floating in space?
Yeah, that's this is a short version, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like anti-gravity, they can travel. You see behind them is like an image of the Earth. So they're pretending that they're in a space station. And basically they're trying to show you that they can create worlds. They can go to different galaxies. Basically anything you can imagine is a meeting space you could have for you, your friends, your company, your business, your storefront, whatever the heck you might want to do, your date. So instead of meeting people in real life, you just meet them in the metaverse and date them there.
Oh my God. This is kind of crazy. Okay, hold on a second. Let me bring us back here. And I just gotta need to make sure that, okay, that's not playing. All right. This is wild. I am sure those of you in the audience right now who had no idea that this existed are probably just mind blown. So when you and I were talking about this and why they might be bringing this in right now, I mean, I agree with you. It's very interesting timing where this has been, you said, like, it's been going on for a couple of decades. It's been suppressed, and now they're like really wanting to bring it out. But to me, it's like we are witnessing the collapse of the matrix in real time. We're seeing it happen, and consciousness is rising, and then this is a big result. Or I should say, the matrix collapsing is a big result of consciousness rising. So, what better thing than to do is just shift everyone into a whole new matrix and tee it up as like the coolest technology ever, which it is cool. It totally is cool. But at the same time, at what cost?
At what cost? That's what I want everyone to ask. At what cost? So do we have to buy into this? Is this really the future? Like, I don't want this future.
I don't want that future at all.
I don't want my kids in, like, I don't have children, but like, I don't want the children I know or anyone. I don't want young people living their lives in VR. I want them like preserving the earth that we have and learning how to, grow food and take care of nature and be good stewards of nature. Because to me, okay, escaping into VR, well, okay, that's entertaining, but the cost to your health, to your mind, to your spirituality, you're giving up your entire biosuit to AI, literally. And with these, injections that are, needing another booster and not knowing what's in them, and like all the magnetics and to me, it's like they are taking over our biology. It's this transhuman agenda. And I want people to know how to, protect their sovereignty, how to protect your energetic sovereignty. We say sovereignty and people think like, sovereign nations, or like, oh, I don't want to pay my taxes, or I want to be so independent. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your sovereign energetic system. That is the only thing that you can control. It's your birthright to hold it. It informs your entire biology. And if we don't know how to inform our own fields or like contain our own sovereignty, we're completely hooked up to every whim of the controller.
It's like I'm struggling here, because the reason why I'm struggling is because I know everything's constantly evolving, right? And there are gonna be big leaps and change. Like when the internet came out, and you're a business, eventually, if you did not put your business on the web, get a website, you're doomed. I mean, most people's business now, 80% of it, I think, comes from the internet, and the rest is like actual real-time walk-in brick and mortar experiences. And so I understand that there's got to be an evolution. So I don't want to deny that, but this is a really big leap. And I'm wondering, is it too big of a leap for my 44-year-old mind right now to be like, I'm totally like my parents when the internet came out, and they're like, what do you mean there's an online business? I just want to go into a store and buy my clothes and eat my food. And, and I totally get it. So that's why I'm trying to like look at this from a wider lens than my initial gut reaction is choosing to look at it. But right now, it's just obviously knowing what we know, there are so many red flags that come with this instantly. It's hard to avoid that.
Yeah. And what really disturbs me is that Bill Gates is the engine behind it. It runs on Microsoft. And you guys, doesn't that scare you? I mean, to me, it terrifies me. Like, I think that it should scare us, because why is he also in medical science creating virus vaccine? I mean, he also created the viruses for the computer. I mean, if you've been following Bill Gates from the beginning of his career, to me, it's like red flags, sirens, seriously, emergency control going on. And somehow everybody's like, oh, he's this great philanthropist. Oh, he's trying to, save all these people. I'm like, do you know him? Have you met him? Like, seriously, you think that? Like, I don't know. I don't buy into all of that. And I don't want to be this person who's like, telling people to run for the hills, but like, please save yourself. Don't buy into group thought and don't plug in unless you absolutely have to. Like, why do you need to plug in? Why?
Man, I need to like do some meditation on this. I need to tune in and like really try to understand, because, there's got to be some positives here. And, but at the same time, does the positive, what's outweighing the other one? Like,
Yes.
if there's like a surplus of positive and then there's like a, decrease of negative, then that's one thing. But like, if it's the opposite, then that's really alarming. And I just don't know. I obviously don't know enough about this. I don't know. I'm just basically going off of what you're informing us with today. But there is this, when we think about just going back to very basic levels, when we think about how we've created all these really big cities, and what is everyone really needing to do right now is to really get back to nature, because those cities have completely disconnected us and created a very difficult energy biome to actually live in while expanding, like just even your connection to earth, connection to everything, your consciousness. It's not as easily done. Okay. It's not that you can't do it, but it's just that, we're fine. What I'm seeing is actually a shift in humanity to want to get back to the earth, because we've been so far removed from it, from a lot of these metropolis kind of cities coming up and just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. And again, it's not that cities are bad, because I enjoy going into certain cities and enjoying some of the things there. But do you want to spend the majority of your time there? And that's where I see this whole metaverse, is that it seems to me like they're wanting to pull people in to spend the majority of their life there. And I could see how it could be fun for like an hour or two, or whatever it might be. Again, there's still, you got to worry about like, what's that doing to my whole like connection with the gear and everything? Like, how is that disturbing everything? I don't know. I would assume, if you're really conscious, there are ways to override that. I have realized that through my own experience recently. And so there is nothing that has more power over you unless you give it to it. But when there's something really new like this, you've really got to learn to adapt, and you got to be kind of careful and really kind of go in slowly, like, and understand the system so that you know how to, I guess, rise above it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get the question I'm asking myself. So I've always been an early adapter of technology, of many things. Also going back to the earth, I spent 14 years building eco communities and going off grid when I left VR. And I'm back in a city now, and I'm not growing food. And it's interesting for me because I've gone full circle. Like I ran away from tech and I went deep into the jungle, lived remotely, grew my own food, got totally self-sustaining, was off grid, the whole 9 yards. And I also love city. I think that we need all of it. Like I'm not condoning one and saying one's horrible and awful. It's just, why do we just suddenly accept things that are given to us by the minority few that run the world and hold all the power to control it? Like, that's the question for me, is like, why do we do that? So here's my thing for the audience. If you're going to join the metaverse, don't do it through Facebook, codename Meta. Find your own way to go through it. Like, to me, they want to own it. They want to monopolize it. Just like, the browser war happened in the 90s. There was Netscape, there was AOL, there was Microsoft, and Safari, and like who really made it this far. And now the next level is the metaverse. Who's going to own the metaverse?
Okay, so yeah,
it's
I'm starting to understand now. It's starting to become much more clear, the picture of, obviously it's the writings on the wall for Facebook. It's, like it's the writings on the wall, or Meta, whatever you want to call it. It's what was formerly known as Facebook. And the best way is to transition everyone off the dying platform into Metaverse.
Yes.
And yes, okay, so I understand, and I
every
see.
single thing you think, you do, every person you interact with, every single thing you buy will be owned by them, the data.
Yeah, it's Facebook on steroids.
Yeah. Steroids that you can't even fathom at this moment.
No,
Going
I'm
into
done.
your
I'm
deep
so
biology to the cellular level.
No,
That's where I'm like, I can't. That's when I met you. I was just like sitting with it. Like, I didn't know if I should just kill myself or something. Like, I don't want to live in that reality. And yet it's right in front of us. You guys, it's already happening. It's already happening.
Tell how many people are using it right now?
Millions of people are already there. And the majority of Americans still haven't even heard of it. And they think when they hear metaverse, they're just like, oh, that's Facebook. I'm like, no, that means if you think it's Facebook, it means you've already given them all of your life. You're owned. To me, you're owned. So it's just, sorry, I'm so passionate about this. And I've had some like really intense talks on Clubhouse with some beautiful people who really believe that you can do good things. Like they're creating retreat centers in Metaverse and beautiful collaborations in Metaverse. And they're calling the conscious creators together in the Metaverse to do amazing things.
Can you create smells like scents and all that?
Not yet, but I'm sure that's just around the corner. I mean, there are back in the 90s, there were full bio suits. Like you would put the whole suit on with sensors, and the sex industry has really gone crazy with it. So there's a whole underground sex world that has full on Android sex toys, right? So it's interesting who the early adopters are. And the other company to watch out for is Hyperverse. So Hyperverse is being launched alongside Meta right now in a very big way. Hyperverse is going after all the crypto gamers and kind of fringe dwellers, and younger people and people who want to get rich quick. And it's kind of like I haven't done the whole thing due diligence. I've sat through a couple sales talks. It's very complicated. To me, I just get energetic hits, and it was like, ooh, again, the warning signals. There's a Chinese CEO. They've got the right, people across the board. They have someone of every color, every nation on their board, so that you feel represented when you look, like everybody's doing the politically
diversity. Okay.
Right? So they have all the messaging and blah, blah, blah. And they're sharing a way for you to invest in crypto. They're gamifying it. And so you should get in and you put a little bit of money in, and your money's just going to grow, and you're going to be uber rich really fast. And yeah, maybe I know people who are making money already in Hyperverse. Many of them have bought into it. Many spiritual communities are getting on the Hyperverse bandwagon. It concerns me. And maybe I'm just going to become a Luddite. And I was like a cyberpunk in my teens. So to me, it's like, it's weird for me to talk against technology like this, but I have very, very strong concerns. I think we don't have ethics in place. We're having the wrong kind of policing. Instead of ethical policing and right appropriate use of technology, we have megalomaniacs sitting in the driving seat, and we're just handing them our biology, handing them every thought we have, handing them every whim, and we're being completely ruled by authoritarian control. And who is the puppet master? So we've got to look at this. And I just pray that my reality that I'm seeing with this is not coming true, and that collectively together we can choose other options. We can choose how we want to use technology in a healthy way. We can, because I do believe that the future cities, or the cities of the new earth, that is the utopian vision of my dream, is where we're using like free energy devices, and we're using appropriate tech that has already been designed. I mean, I want a holographic screen. I'm so sick of using this computer laptop, and it hurts my body, right?
No, yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's this thing, just though it feels like it's designed, whether someone's intention was that or not, okay, but it feels to me like it's designed to kill your biological reality and everything that you can do with it. And knowing how important our biological skin suit is, our DNA, what we can do with this actual body, I just think that as we're starting to really, like, not everyone obviously is aware of this, but those of us who are, awakening to our own DNA capacities and what we're able to do within this body, I think that it's a little bit suspect that we're being taken out of our bodies again in a way that would really deteriorate. Like, who knows what kind of gene expressions would get turned on or off through being in this virtual reality.
Yes. And are we giving our God spark energy? Are we using it through the metaverse instead of through our biology? This is where I'm getting confused, and I don't have all the answers. I don't know. I just know that I feel like this canary in the coal mine, okay, this happened to me. I've been in it for a long time. I've watched the creators of it. I developed the first artificial intelligent piece of code that came into the public hands. It was a government project. It was secret. It came out of the government control. The guy who designed it hired me to put a business skin on it. We had the full humanitarian idea that this is going to help with emergency situations, command and control center. And what happened? Our CEO got greedy and he sold it to an energy trading company that, ended up going to jail, that CEO, because he misused the technology, and the technology just got in the wrong hands. And I always thought, like, oh, what if the technology got in the wrong hands? But I never thought that it would, because I thought we were the stewards of it and that it was really going to be used appropriately. And I've seen this again and again and again with all the men I worked with in the Silicon Valley who got this kind of power. And I'm sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, I don't trust them at all. Do you? I mean, do you trust them with your biology? Do you trust them with
I don't trust anyone with my biology but me.
Yes. So please trust yourselves, people, and think about what you're doing if you say yes to that, or even if you say no, why? Like, have your own.
Also, like, your every ounce of you is trackable and traceable. Like, everything that you do, think, everything is trackable in there. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to put implants in your body anymore to be traced, or have a phone on you, or whatever it might be. You don't, as soon as you enter in there, everything about you is traceable, trackable. And that scares the shit out of me. That scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah. And I'm totally here to eradicate fear, and I don't think fear is healthy, and I don't want to propagate fear.
No, but here, listen, fear serves a purpose. Listen, back in the day, when we were like, living amongst the animals, and, a lion came and you were confronted with a lion, you had fear, so you get the hell out of there, right? Well, we've been very, used to living in a reality now where we don't have the same fears. To me, this thing is sending off alarm bells, very much like if I was face to face with a lion and my life depended on it. Like, that's how I interpret this. This isn't just like overdeveloped fear for something that's very minor. This given everything that we've seen happen just in the last few years, I would think that there is a good deal to be afraid of here. Now, does that mean that you just automatically shift into fear? No, it's just like utilizing the fear of what that's trying to tell you, and then, evaluate everything, use your common sense, do your own due diligence too.
Yeah,
But
proceed with caution.
proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution. And like, what happens if nobody joins the metaverse, or only, 1/8 of the population, say, joins it? You mentioned something about businesses needing to be online these days, but I don't think so. Like, I've been online for 30 years now. And I don't know, like, it's just a business card. Like, do I really need it? No, because everyone who buys from me has met me. Like,
well, yeah,
I mean,
but
yes,
I think
right? And there's so many companies, they don't need, like,
I
friends
actually
in Mexico don't have websites, and they exist. They have businesses.
it's okay. I understand what you're saying, but it's really difficult to scale and grow a business if you're not online to some degree. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have, it doesn't mean you have to have a website. Like, I know people who do well just having a YouTube channel and putting their PayPal or whatever it is in there, and they can purchase and then use Zoom or whatever that might be. But you do have to be online. My worry is that they're going to try and like get everyone over so that they're constantly living in there, so that if you're not there, they're not seeing you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I know some extremely, extremely wealthy, billionaires who don't have websites, who have multiple lands and don't even have a smartphone. Like, they use the old burner phones, and they're not doing
probably because they're really smart.
Yeah. And it was amazing for me to meet them, and say, like, oh my God, you don't have a computer and you have thousands of employees and you don't even have a smartphone. Like, I can't even.
Yeah, but those thousands of employees must have computers and are online doing.
Well, no, it's India, so it's village people. So no, but they make billions of dollars. It's all in cash. It's interesting. So I only say that because it's the question, like, do we need it? How much?
I agree with you. I think it's a very valid question.
And I think we have a problem of, like, too many people on the planet inhabiting smaller spaces, condensed in areas that are creating so much damage for the rest of the planet. But yeah, proceed with caution. And what if we don't buy into it? And, maybe we learn to use it in certain ways. Maybe it is just entertainment purposes. Like, do we need to put our businesses on there? I don't know. But let's see. This is coming, and we need to make some decisions.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, had any of us known what was really going down the pipeline with Facebook, would all of us have jumped on and signed up for an account and like been all a part of it? Probably not. But so now, like, that we kind of understand where things are going, we can use what we've learned through that whole experience and apply it to this one and saying, oh, okay, maybe we should rethink, is this the smartest decision? And if it is going to be for entertainment purposes, is there a way to navigate this so that it doesn't consume like everyone's life and make it so that this becomes our whole new reality? Because listen, so there are people who sit in front of their TVs for 16 hours a day, and are either playing video games or watching movies, watching TV, and that's become their reality. They're like literally watching another reality. Now, they may not be participating in it. Well, some are if they're gaming and all of that, but it's up
like
to
Wally
us.
World.
It is. It's up to us. Yeah, no, exactly.
Not Wally World. Sorry. Wally, the cartoon.
Wally. Yeah.
Wally World.
Yeah. So, I think it's, again, it comes up to personal choice. And like you said, understanding where your sovereignty begins and ends, like where do you start? Where do you end? And also understanding how you interact with that. And I think, maybe that was one of the really good lessons about understanding the social media what that's done for us, especially in particularly Facebook. But, you know, and applying that to this particular metaverse, especially since Facebook/Meta is making a run for its co-opting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Wow.
see. I mean, let's see what happens, but it's happening quickly, you guys. And it, to me, the part that really disturbs me is that they took travel away. They took, you know, meeting with people away. They've isolated us in our homes, and then they're selling us this. At that time, they've had this technology for 30 years. Why are they selling it to us when they've done this? It's like we're supposed to be happy and satisfied with that. That means that they're planning this to continue to be the new normal, that you go to work in the metaverse, that you know, all your business meetings are in the metaverse. Go watch more videos of Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, they have a whole vision that everything you do will be in the metaverse. That is their vision.
I can't even like donate my energy to watch that video because I already know how I feel about it. Oh my goodness.
God.
It's just like, man, when you
We're
think
gonna
this
have
world can't get crazier.
We're gonna have podcasts in the metaverse.
Oh Lord.
Oh my God. And we can just travel to Mars.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, you know what? I can already do that in my mind, in my own
Exactly.
consciousness.
I know.
So I'll just keep perfecting that. And yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, because here's the thing. I don't need someone else's technology to do that. But if I go into the metaverse, I'm going to need someone else's technology, which makes me dependent, which then creates this whole nother codependent system that has gotten us into the very same mess that we're trying to break free of right now. And it's like, say no to codependency. Like, just say no to codependency. And that's what it's like. They want us to become dependent on technology to make us believe that we need that to do certain things, as opposed to understanding that we can have like a very, I get what, like maybe a symbiotic relationship with technology, where we know that there are so many things that we're capable of doing already, but maybe we want to use it to enhance something or work in a certain way. That I'm all for, you know, but I don't like this idea of understanding what I know I'm already capable of doing. You already know what you're capable of doing. A lot of people in the audience already know what they're capable of doing, that they're trying to tell you today that you need this technology, this VR reality, like virtual reality, to experience. And without our technology, you won't get this and you won't get that. And like, yeah, it's just, no, thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thanks,
Yeah.
Mark.
No,
Thanks, but
no,
no
do
thanks.
better. Do better. Wow. Okay, so let's just end off on a positive note here that's uplifting in some way. So talk about this idea of like, you know, how to stay energetically sovereign and the importance of being connected and having human to human interactions now more than ever. Oh my goodness. If there was ever a reason to go out and meet a friend, hug a person, you know, now is the time.
Yes, you guys stay connected to your people. Like, find your people and be close to them, like live with them or near them if you can.
Okay,
Energetic.
wait. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I have to say this because I think this is important. And this is a pitfall in the spiritual community, or though anyone who's going through a big spiritual awakening or just anything like that. This is why it's so important, guys, that you don't fall into isolation for long periods of time. I know this is part of the journey. You start like retreating from your family, your friends, everything that you've known as your reality, everything's changing. And I get it. Sometimes the retreat is part of the process. So I don't want to say don't ever retreat, but there comes a time where from that retreat period, you have to reintegrate and come back in and know that you can still have like relationships with your family for the most part. Some people might not be able to, but for the most part, on a whole, there are ways to still stay connected. There are ways to meet new friends and have in-person relationships. And I can see already, you know, obviously online, it's a lot easier to meet people than in your immediate surroundings. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But there can be this this kind of pitfall or codependency of the online world to replace your biological reality. So I'm already seeing that kind of happen, another reason to make sure, guys, that you're pushing yourself past your comfort zone to reintegrate yourself back into having living relationships beyond the ones you create online. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think that's important.
It's crucial. It's crucial. And for those of us that are really empathic, I suggest grabbing my book, little book plug, Synchronicity, Unlock Your Divine Destiny, because in it, I talk about your energetic field. So for those of you watching the video, you can see the image on the cover. This is our energetic field when we're in harmonics with ourselves and able to hold our energetic field. And the energetic field, which neuroscientists are calling the mind, which is really fun. So science is now confirming all of this. But our electromagnetic field around our body, if we don't know how to harness it and own it, we are constantly being bombarded with other thought forms, other projections that disrupt our field and create the disease, create the distortions in our field, the fear, the depression, the anxiety. So we need to really learn how to harness it. And in my book, I have a very simple practice. I have audio and video you can download to really practice honing your own energetic field so that you know how to stay sovereign when you are interacting with other people, when you are going online, or even just like presenting something or being in front of other people. If you can hold your energetic field, you won't be manipulated by them. So if you're afraid of that, if you're someone who's really empathic and just feels like the world is a scary place, or maybe you've been isolated for a long time and you don't even know how to interact with people anymore, please read my book, learn the tools. You can find it on my website, knowtheself.com, or on Amazon.
Perfect. I'll leave the links for that in the description below the video and in the podcast notes. And I think this was, I think it's so important that, having that reconnection, learning that, you can stay connected. Don't be afraid that, you're too empathic, you feel too much. Listen, that's a victim mentality that a lot of empaths take on. Do not take that on. That the only reason is because you haven't learned how to maintain energetic sovereignty yet. And that's all it is. Once you start to maintain energetic sovereignty, you start to control your empathic abilities, where you start to become in control of them, and you fine tune them into much higher intuitive abilities. Remember, your empathy is low grade intuition. Okay. Like, a lot of people are empathic. That's not to like downgrade what it is, but the more you start to fine tune your own energetic sovereignty, you start to understand how you can control what comes into your field, what you choose to feel, what you don't want to feel. You have control over that. And just because you're an empath doesn't mean you're not. You just need to learn the skills, what you're talking about in that book, which I think is really highly valuable. So if you're someone who has been having trouble, like you've isolated yourselves and maybe you're just not sure on how to integrate back in and learn that, I highly suggest her book, Synchronicity. Yeah. Oh my God. This was a really fun topic. I haven't had a topic like this on the show in a long time, where it's like blowing my mind and we're going down a rabbit hole that this is a completely new rabbit hole for me. And I don't want to go too far down too many rabbit holes. That's not my jam anymore. Right. But I think it's important to be aware and to have information. And I think this is just like the tip of the iceberg for anyone watching. Please do your own due diligence, do your own research, figure out what's right for you.
It's the tip of the Zuckerberg.
It's, oh God, no. Oh Lord, we cannot,
just the tip of the Zuckerberg, you guys, beware. Come on.
Oh
Oof.
My gosh.
Thank you for letting me talk about it, because I'm finally able to put words to this energy that is like, for many months now is like really disturbing me. And I'm not so scared of it. I'm trusting that we're conscious enough to do good, like to do right. Like that people have created enough consciousness. I think at this point, come on, you guys, like all of you listening, I know you're the ones I'm counting on. Like we have a little New Earth army here that our consciousness and the way the choices we make every day and what we spend our money on, what we give our attention to, that is what turns the tide for all of us. It's the group thought, right? So be conscious, be aware of what you're saying yes and no to, and check, be in alignment.
Yeah. And just,
Fun times.
know what your own journey is and what is right for you. And yeah, this has just been completely mind-blowing, mind-warping, as I said in the beginning. Like this is just, I'm a bit tongue-tied right now. I don't even know what words to use, because this is something that really I had no idea about. No idea, other than what you had told me on the beach that day. And yeah. But I have heard of a couple people talking about it. I have had a client tell me about one of his cousins who's been like, it's the thing, it's where everyone's going, and so, what, I have heard of it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I have heard it, but I've been dismissing it, like just completely dismissing it. So this is just super interesting. We'll see where this all takes us, but I know where I begin and where I end, and it certainly isn't in that, at least not in the concept of the people that are trying to create it right now. So yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Aeon. It's been so fun. And guys, I love you so much. Stay tuned for next week, and I'll be back with you once again.